Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Pittsburgh Magazine's virtual Women in Business event. I'm Betsy Benson, the publisher of Pittsburgh Magazine, and we are excited, as always, to be here with you tonight to honor 4 amazing businesswomen in our community. I would like to start by thanking tonight's hosts and sponsors, Pressley Ridge, S&T Bank, and the Center for Women's Entrepreneurship at Chatham University. There are a few things to keep in mind, as usual, to ensure everything runs smoothly. Please be sure to keep your mic muted when in the main meeting room, and we're now in the main meeting room. Don't forget to update your name so that it appears as your first name, your last name, and your business name. Remember, this is a great networking event, and we want you all to connect on multiple levels. Remember to select speaker view in the top right-hand corner. But then when we move you to the breakout sessions for our speed networking, we recommend you change that setting to gallery view. Please submit any questions you have for Jessica Brooks, our keynote speaker, via the chat. I'll be keeping a close eye on that and be sure to relay the questions that we get. If you run into any technical issues, and we know this happens with Zoom meetings at times, please send a message via the chat. Our Katie Miller and Casey Mahaven are on hand and will be monitoring it to offer help as needed. Now let's review tonight's agenda. First, we will hear from our nonprofit partner, Pressley Ridge. Then we'll move into the first breakout session. This will happen automatically, like magic. You do not need to do a thing. During that breakout session, you should introduce yourself and give a 1-minute elevator speech or pitch about what you are up to at your business or organization. Keep in mind that we hope our attendees develop business relationships with one another tonight. To make this a little easier in a speed networking format, we'll be sure to share contact info for attendees in an email to follow this event. And if you don't want your information shared, you please contact Katie Miller via email or the chat, and she will move you from that list. We have added this service at the request of our attendees, and it's been very well received. After about 3 minutes, we said speed networking. This is speed networking. After about 3 minutes, the breakout rooms will close, and you'll be automatically transported back to this main meeting room. At that point, after the first breakout, we'll hear from Christy Olsofsky from S&T Bank, who will say a few words. We will then have our honoree presentation and hear from all 4 of our great women who have been featured in the magazine. Following that presentation, we will move into the second breakout session. Then you will return to the main room for a 15-minute keynote presentation by Jessica, followed by a brief Q&A. Can't wait for that. Following the keynote, we will move into the third and final breakout networking session. Again, this will happen automatically, and we'll do our best to make sure we're mixing it up and making sure that you get to meet some new people every time. And so now we are on to the program. I would like to welcome our nonprofit partner for this year's series, Pressley Ridge, which provides individuals and families with hope and support through life's challenges. Lisa Kale is the Manager of Marketing and Development Communications.
Thank you, Betsy. Good evening, everyone. We're honored to be here tonight in partnership with Pittsburgh Magazine. Your contributions to tonight's event will help us continue to support kids and families right here in the Pittsburgh region, as well as 5 other states. We were founded here in Pittsburgh in 1832. 189 years later, we serve 9,000 individuals and families each year through foster care and adoption, specialized education, and mental health services. Now, enjoy a short video that'll help give you a sense of the great work we're doing in our community. And if you'd like more information, visit our website at pressleyridge.org.
Finding hope and support through life's challenges. We partner with our families to meet them where they are, when they need it most. We are grateful for those who have trusted Pressley Ridge to help build stable, healthy families and lifelong connections that lead to a successful, happy life. And we thank you, our communities, for investing in our mission. To find out more about our work in your community, visit PressleyRidge.org.
Thank you. Great video, and what a great services Pressley Ridge provides to our community. At this time, we're going to move into our first breakout session. This session is going to be like speed dating. You will have about 3 minutes to introduce yourself and give your elevator pitch. The transition to the breakouts will happen automatically, nothing you need to do. After a few minutes, the breakout sessions will close and you'll be automatically brought back to this main meeting room for the honoree presentations. And keep in mind that when they give you sort of the warning that the breakout room is going to close, you still have some time there to finish your thought and potentially have a brief conversation. Remember, again, that we're going to be sharing all the contact information after the event tonight. So, if you don't want to share the information, let us know, but you'll be able to connect directly to people that you meet in that meeting room with an email provided following this event. So enjoy. Here to speak on behalf of S&T Bank is Christy Olsofsky, the Private Banking Group Manager at S&T Bank.
Hi, everybody. I apologize if you can see me from my background. I got caught up at a customer call, and so I am taking this call from my car. So I have a different background each time I'm on. So I'm super excited to be here. Thank you so much for having us. I'd like to just give a brief introduction on behalf of the Private Banking Group at S&T. My name is Christy Olsofsky. I manage the team as well as continue to work in a production-oriented role within the Private Banking Group. I'd just like to give a quick overview of our capabilities within the group and also highlight how I believe groups and events such as this one, who truly spotlight women in the workforce, presents us a valuable business generation path. Private banking as a concept isn't a new vertical within banking, certainly. However, it is a relatively new business line here at S&T. We got the group off the ground at the start of 2018 and have been actively growing our portfolio of clients, as well as continuously updating and improving our product set with the aim of being a best-in-class provider to our clients. Our focus is working with business owners and high net worth individuals to provide personalized financial solutions spanning from wealth management and estate planning through deposits and customized consumer lending opportunities. We differentiate ourselves by taking an advisory or consultative approach and gaining a truly thorough understanding of our clients' financial capacity and financial situation in order to kind of collaborate on a plan with them to come up with solutions for whatever it is that they may be looking to do, while offering the standard products that you would typically expect from a bank with home equity lines or mortgages. We also look to find some creative opportunities, including the utilization of a combination of collateral types, fully or partially unsecured lines of credit, asset-backed lines that allow our clients some different options to consider to see which one best suits their needs. Oftentimes we partner with our wealth team, to put together a comprehensive solution that reduces a client's out-of-pocket costs on the front side and allows us to relationship price things to really give a client an advantage. And tying what we do in private banking here at S&T to this women in business group, I'm proud to note that out of my 5 team members, another one of whom is here with us this evening, 3 of us are women. I certainly won't include myself in the accolades, but the ladies on my team are absolutely phenomenal. They're complete rock stars. I encourage them to be part of groups like this one. And additionally, the bank overall encourages women within the workplace to seek out opportunities like this, to be active within the community and, to further our leadership skills by, engaging in opportunities such as this one. In my 15 years of banking, I've found that the professional relationships that I've formed with various women across different industries have not only led me to really strong referral sources, but they've also led to really, really wonderful friendships. And I mean, I think a lot of us could agree that, women are fiercely loyal, and they sincerely seek out opportunities to send business back and forth once that level of trust has been established. And, as many of us, certainly myself included in banking, work in male-dominated industries, these relationships are completely invaluable. I look forward to the opportunity to get to know each of you better so that we can continue to add to the wonderful network of professional women in the Pittsburgh area. So thank you so much for having us.
Thank you, Christy. Awesome remarks. I couldn't agree more with what you're saying. At this time, I have the honor to introduce you to our 4 honorees. As Executive Director of the Southwest Communities Chamber of Commerce, Mandy Pryor thinks of herself as a B2B matchmaker, providing businesses with innovative new ways to network and grow. The Chamber serves Bridgeville, Carnegie, Heidelberg, Collier, Scott, South Fayette, and Upper St. Clair, as well as surrounding areas. The pandemic has certainly dealt a serious blow to many Chamber members, but membership numbers have rebounded and interest in online events has increased. When Mandy isn't running the Chamber, she is presiding over MP Marketing and PR. That's MP Marketing and PR, a boutique marketing agency that she founded in 2017. Mandy also produces and hosts a community cable TV show called Spotlight on Pittsburgh and features guests from a wide range of industries. Mandy believes it is important to give back. She says, quote, "If you build your community up, you will build your business in return." Congrats, Mandy. Please say a few words.
Hi, everyone. Just want to make sure my mic is working. As she said, my name is Mandy Pryor. I want to thank Betsy Benson, the entire team for putting this together. Pressley Ridge we're so excited to support you, and S&T Bank and Chatham University Center for Women's Entrepreneurship. We couldn't do this without you, obviously. And I love women in business. The Chamber itself, we have an impactful women's group that gets together. We talk about women's issues. We talk about things that are really important to women. So this isn't your traditional women in business group. And we do these events quarterly. They're always open for members and non-members. And as you all know, the face of business has changed dramatically over the past year. And, we're integrating our personal lives as Christy from S&T Bank is in her car riding around, or you're home with your kids trying to do events online. I know I've personally had my son screaming in the background for chocolate milk while I'm trying to host a networking event. So things have really changed over the past year, but I can feel it rebounding. And I really have a strong sense of hope for 2021 that things are going to turn out great. And with events like this, I know that all of us women out there can connect even further. So thank you very much for putting this together.
Thank you, Mandy. I feel it rebounding too. Absolutely. Okay, our second woman, Dana J. Richardson Campbell, is an owner partner of Tibbet and Richardson PC. The law firm was founded in 2010 when Dana and her partner, Beth Tibbet, both had young children and other professional obligations. 8 years later, the two decided to fully focus on growing TR Law, dedicating their efforts to help a greater number of people. Since then, the firm has grown by nearly 5 times. Dana believes that dreaming big and setting clear goals makes those goals happen. When the pandemic hit, the firm immediately took action to ensure that its clients were still being served with no interruption. The firm always had the capability to go 100% virtual, Dana says, and did so seamlessly. Dana says TR has epic growth plans for the future, 3 to 5 years and beyond. Congrats, Dana.
Thank you, Betsy. I'd like to thank Pittsburgh Magazine, the staff, you, and all of the wonderful sponsors of tonight's event. I'd just like to say, I chose to be a lawyer because it's important to me to help people find their strength and to find their peace. And so I'm thankful to be in a position to be able to do that. I'm absolutely humbled by the honor of being here tonight and being counted among all of these strong, successful women. We've all fought battles to get where we are today, as every woman does. And it's my supreme honor to be here tonight. And I will just kind of piggyback on what Mandy said. I stayed at my office this evening just so that, the kids and the dog and all the chaos of home didn't intrude. But yes, I can totally get that juggling act. As women, we just balance so much. So again, thank you to everyone. And I really appreciate this.
Thank you, Dana. Thank you. And, and appreciate the work that you do.
Thank you.
Okay, now Monica Ruiz is Executive Director of Casa San Jose. It's a nonprofit community resource center that advocates for and empowers Latinos by promoting integration and self-sufficiency. Its mission is to model a strong culture of acceptance and integration in which immigrants and other newcomers are treated with dignity, respect, and kindness, and can freely preserve and celebrate their unique cultures while adapting to their new lives in the greater Pittsburgh area. Monica, who has 13 years experience in the social service field, working with the Latino population, has doubled CASA's budget, programs, and staff in under 3 years. Such growth has an organization looking for a larger space. Monica received the 2019 Women of Influence Award from the Pittsburgh Business Times and the 2019 Cesar Chavez Community Heroes Award, among other honors. What is the best advice Monica has ever received? Quote, "If you are not moving forward, you are not idle, you're actually falling backward." Congrats, Monica.
Thank you, Betsy. I just wanted to say thank you again, to Pittsburgh Magazine, Pressley Ridge, and the other sponsors of this event. I have attended other events held by you all, and it is really great to be around other very successful, wide, open-minded, eager women. And it is just really, I'm not from Pittsburgh, and so just to be surrounded by, women in these circles has really helped me a lot. I hope that one day I might be able to help someone as well. I think that, right now, because of COVID, if nothing else, we have seen how when communities come together and support one another, how we can not just survive, but we can actually thrive. So thank you so very much. I'm really eager to learn more about the wonderful people that are here with us today and see if we can't connect moving forward.
Absolutely. Please do connect. Thank you, Monica. Now, after nearly 20 years buying and selling media, Wendy Clayton decided to take the advice of one of her biggest clients and created her own company. With the security in knowing her first client was guaranteed, Splash Media was born in 2004. Splash provides advertising agencies and direct accounts with media planning and buying services, specializing in research, strategy, and reconciliation. Wendy honed her expertise at a number of top Pittsburgh advertising agencies and also worked in media sales at Sinclair Broadcasting. Wendy earned her MBA in marketing from the University of Pittsburgh's Katz Graduate School of Business in 1991. What advice does Wendy have for women in business? Quote, "Surround yourself with other strong, smart women. It makes you want to succeed. And there's nothing better in life than a bunch of strong women trying to better themselves." Congrats, Wendy.
Thank you, Betsy. Thank you for the wonderful introduction. I'm so grateful and so honored to be recognized among this great and successful group of women. Betsy, your team at Pittsburgh Magazine, the sponsors Pressley Ridge, Chatham, and S&T Bank do such wonderful events as this one. I'm just thrilled to be able to participate. I love media, and that is one of the things that has really changed in the past year is everyone's media habits. Your media habits are going to change because your life changed because of what we've been through. And we are helping our clients navigate those changes to reach their customers with media. and it's been exciting. And I agree with your sentiments, and Mandy, how I think things are coming back strongly, and it's exciting to see. Thank you again, and congratulations to the rest of the honorees.
Thank you, Wendy. Awesome comments. And what amazing stories, don't you think? We will find them, of course, in their entirety in the April issue or on PittsburghMagazine.com. Now, at this time, we are going to move into our second breakout session. Again, the transition to the breakouts will happen automatically. Don't need to do a thing. After a few minutes, the breakout rooms will close and you'll be automatically brought back to this main meeting room for the keynote presentation with Jessica Brooks. Remember, we will be sharing all of the contact information after the event tonight, so you don't have to spend time writing down emails or phone numbers. We're going to provide you those email contacts as part of our post-event communication with you. And again, if you have an issue with sharing, just let us know and we'll be happy to remove you from the list. Okay, see you soon. Okay, welcome back. We hope you enjoyed your conversations. At this time, we would like to welcome our keynote speaker, Jessica Brooks. Please be sure to submit your questions via the chat. I'll be keeping an eye on that. And then after the presentation, we will certainly ask Jessica some of those questions. Since 2014, Jessica Brooks has served as president and CEO of the Pittsburgh Business Group on Health, which is an organization that has been driving change in healthcare since the 1980s. The organization gives a voice to employers in their efforts to contain rising costs for care and prescription drugs that suppress the ability of their employees to receive the care they need when they need it at a price they can afford. PBGH advocates for more than 100 leading employers at the highest local and state federal levels, lobbying and pursuing real transformation in the way healthcare is delivered and paid for, so that companies and organizations have the power to be competitive and succeed, so that our region thrives. I'm thrilled that Jessica has agreed to speak with us tonight. Jessica.
Thank you, Betsy. It's such an honor to be here with all of you, and congratulations to all of the honorees. And Pressley Ridge is actually a PBGH member, so what an honor to be able to contribute to serving them today as well. Well, we're going to talk over in this brief note, and trying to figure out how to pack this big topic of equity into. I think you gave me 15 minutes earlier. I think 10 or so minutes. I'll do my best. And I'm actually going to hone in that focus specifically in one area towards the end of my talk, just for the sake of time. So I'll talk a little bit more about me. And you heard a little bit about PBGH, which I'm honored to serve 7 years now as the CEO. And it's a great passion of mine on healthcare overall. It's always been a passion since middle school. I can remember doing a project when I thought I would be a cardiologist. And then I saw the years of having to go to school and I was like, maybe I'll figure something else, some other way to touch healthcare without having to do all of that. So I ultimately ended up in the business of healthcare, I guess you can say. But, 2020 for all of us, and now 2021 was jam-packed with a lot of change and a big, I think, wake-up call. And why I called this talk the call of now is, with that level of disruption and uncomfortability and drive to purpose, I felt a call for many of us, a wake-up call in a lot of ways. Some of us mentioned that today, of being connected greater to our communities, to our families, to realizing what matters most, to realizing our responsibility to others and beyond ourselves. And that's where EARN was created in the Health Desk. So I'll talk to you a little bit more about those organizations. EARN is the Executive Action Response Network. This was an organization that I co-founded with 2 other co-founders shortly after the murder of George Floyd. And as you all know, the trial of George Floyd's murder is going on right now. So it's still very real today as it was then. And this was, as we saw protests on the streets of young people, really felt that the Black professional voice was missing largely from the conversation in a way that it should be there. With having the experience, the business acumen, the access to leadership and strategy, we really felt that there needed to be a broader voice that brought together the corporate community and the Black professional community in a way that created sustainable, insightful change and resolution and solutions. So EARN started out just as a letter going to the C-suite, and now today it is a full organization that provides anti-racism training, DEI strategy and consultation, and we have a staffing solutions firm as well, EARN Staffing Solutions, that supports organizations from temp to executive leadership staffing with a focus on minority placement. And so that is what EARN is. I'm very proud of EARN. We're a year in now, and really doing some really impactful work with several organizations in the region. And Health Desk is actually, I guess, my heart passion work. Health Desk was birthed really out of before COVID-19, summer of 2019, just being visible as an advocate in healthcare in the region. I was getting contacted through social media by patients who were in the hospital real time. And they were all different patients. None of them knew one another. They all connected to me through social media. That was one commonality. They were all women. That was another commonality. They all were Black women. That was another common issue. And lastly, they all felt that they were being ignored, and if they didn't get help immediately, they would have an adverse outcome. And each time I was able to, through my position and privilege, reach out to my friends who are leaders of hospitals in the region and able to get someone to help them right away. And when I reached out to my colleagues and friends in leadership, they seemed appalled that these experiences were happening in their facilities. And so it just struck me as to why is there a disconnect between leadership and the actual experience of a patient? What is happening there? And how do I scale my ability to be able to access this leadership to get an average person help? And so Health Desk was birthed to really create a voice for patients real time at the point of care when they are feeling bias, when they are feeling discomfort in how they're being treated, and to get them someone who will advocate for them real time as a part of that facility. And so that is Health Desk. And I'll talk a little bit more about that as our time goes on. Right after that summer, September 2019, this report came out. And although I knew it wasn't a coincidence that I was getting those calls, and that Black women in particular were feeling that they were just treated wrongly, being ignored, being dismissed in the healthcare system. Shortly after that, in September, a big report came out across a variety of different factors, and some in the healthcare field, like mine, would call them social determinants of health, but education, employment, health, poverty. We saw across gender and race, a variety of major disparities or inequalities. And here's a list of some of them. Pittsburgh's white women make 78 cents to every dollar made by Pittsburgh's white men. Black women make 54 cents to every dollar. 85% of cities have higher Black employment than Pittsburgh. When we compare to 89 comparable cities, we rank among the worst in having low birth weight babies, and Black maternal mortality, meaning we're dying here in the city of Pittsburgh, being a Black woman when giving birth. Pittsburgh has more Black women out of the labor force than 97% of cities. Girls period, regardless of race, are less likely to be enrolled in middle school algebra, although our girls are more likely to pass. And knowing that the emerging industries that are here and right in front of our eyes in the tech industry, where the future of work is hidden and where it is, and having our children, our girls in particular, less likely to really be primed for those positions. More Black children in Pittsburgh grow up in poverty than in 95% of similar cities. And we've literally been tolerating our children being in poverty for years and years. Pittsburgh's Black adult women are 5 times more likely to live in poverty than white adult men. And the Black adult maternal mortality rates are higher in Pittsburgh than in 98% of similar cities. These are just a few of the statistics that came out of that report. And many people were not surprised, but many people were. And if you haven't read the report, please do. But this was really the impetus that led PBGH in particular to take on health equity as a primary strategic imperative. As Betsy mentioned, we've been for a long time advocating for quality, accessibility, affordable healthcare, prescription drug benefits, being able to be more accessible to people. But for, I guess, since the creation of benefits, very few employers have focused on equity and ensuring quality for every single employee was realized. When we went to our board and said, hey, based on this report, if you have a Black woman in a cube next to a white woman in a cube, they make the same amount of money, they have access to the same benefits, and they both are pregnant and they go out to have their babies, one will not come back alive because of their race. Is that acceptable? And the answer is no. But we just never posed it that way. We just never thought about it that way. But after COVID-19 awakened us all with the grave disparities on top of that report, we no longer have the option of unlearning what we learned and are now called to do something about the major disparities and inequities that have persisted for many, many years. And I could tell you, they've persisted for a long time. My mother, who's 75, and my sister, when she had her, and my sister's 45, she almost died, sent home, collapsed, started hemorrhaging, came back and to the hospital, and they found out they left her placenta in. And when she was laying on the table, she heard the nurse ask the doctor, should we take this to the lab? And the doctor said, no. And she still tells that story. She's 75. She knew that was wrong. She knew what happened to her was just disregarded. So when this many years later, in 2019, this report comes out, and then these adverse outcomes are now being paid attention to, it tells us that we cannot let this time pass. And that's why I talk about this being the call of now. So as you know, many people would describe last year as a lost lives, our livelihood was impacted, our quality of life, and there was in a lot of ways. Women overall, we've lost a lot of jobs. Some say we've lost generations of progress. If we don't stand up and do something now, many of our corporations weren't really prepared to support leave policies that were flexible enough for all of us. And our mental health has been impacted in ways that I cannot explain. We've had employers reach out to us during COVID-19 to implement telemental health services for the first time, and quickly employers did. We saw 1,200% increases in mental health services being accessed. But when it came to after the murder of George Floyd, I had employers say, oh my goodness, I never thought that my mental health services, I never even thought to ask the question, is it helping with racial trauma? Are these services really able to help all of my employees? And as tragic as that was, it's a gift that we are now asking those questions, because the reality is a lot of our services really haven't considered most of our employees or at least some of our employees in a lot of different ways. So now employers are asking questions of their vendors to be more culturally competent. They are asking their mental health service providers, can you actually serve all of my employees and their needs? And so these are just some of the things that I'm really excited about the call of now. Many businesses and CEOs, and we saw the pledges, responded in a lot of significant ways with $1 billion commitments to end systemic racism, to support economic empowerment. For Bank of America pledged $1 billion to address racial and economic inequality. Google, I mean, you can name pretty much any major organization, and many smaller organizations have made similar commitments. I think it's critical that we get beyond and ensuring that these things stay sustainable, that the time of that moment called for this, but we need to make sure that we have a level of transparency that shows us that progress is being made in this area. And also to close the gap between where CEOs are paying attention to racial inequality and maybe where their HR and benefits people may be paying attention to it, because the health inequality issues are significant. COVID-19 has shared that with us, but there's many, many more major issues that are ultimately impacted by systemic racism in our healthcare system that I'll highlight a little bit about today, and why Health Desk exists, and why PBGH is committed to health equality. So I went on this, excuse me, I'm recovering from a strep throat. So I went on this whole tour with employers across my membership and some across the country with some of my peer coalitions, and started asking questions about, well, you know, what are you doing and what are you hearing from your employees? And many of them said, we don't hear the stories. So when we spoke, we saw the 6 times or 4 times likely to die from COVID-19, or David Bell, who was denied treatment and ultimately died in a hospital parking lot, and Dr. Susan Moore, who died from COVID-19 and shared that she was being treated like a drug addict. They said, we don't hear those stories. We don't know where those stories are going. And so I'm going to share a little bit about my story. And I'm sharing these because oftentimes when I talk to employers and even hospital administrators, they often believe that this is happening to the poorest of us, that these aren't necessarily employees, that they're not necessarily on a commercial health insurance plan, that they're on, you know, Medicaid per se. But each one of the stories I'm going to share, I was employed, highly educated, commercial health insurance plan. And so this first one was my son, Jesse. And I'll back up a little bit. This is Black Maternal Health Week. And so Vice President Kamala Harris and President Joe Biden actually, for the first time, did a presidential proclamation this Tuesday for Black Maternal Health Week. So it's an official week now in the White House. And so I think it's fitting to share a couple of these stories. So when I was 24, I had just graduated from undergrad, lived in Western New York, and was working for a big global defense contractor, Lockheed Martin. Everything had gone as planned. And then I ended up pregnant. I'm single. All my family lives here in Pittsburgh. I'm in New York. And I was supposed to move to New Mexico on my next assignment. But I decided to stay on the East Coast, and my company allowed me to stay. And I decided to have my child here in Pittsburgh. And during my visits, there was significant stigma on how I was treated in my visits. And I looked young. I was young. I was 24. However, you know what stigma feels like, and just kind of went with it. There's not much you could do about that. And then it was time for me to deliver. I was told to go get induced because my blood pressure was slightly elevated. So during that time, 13 hours of labor, no medication at all. I was told, well, nothing's going to happen here. You have to go have a C-section. It was the last thing I wanted to do, but I did, and didn't feel like I had a choice. So went to have the C-section. They give me finally get me numb, give me the medication. My arms are strapped down. I'm vomiting the entire time. I can only move my neck. My arms are strapped down. I'm cut open. And I remember hearing my sister's voice ask if I was dying. And my blood pressure had dropped, my eyes were closed. But then I heard Jesse, my baby, and everything seemed to be okay. It took hours and hours before I could hold him because of recovering from what was happening to me. And ultimately, I ended up in postpartum depression. This was after I was blamed by the nursing staff for almost making him die because he wouldn't latch on and he was losing some weight. And I really do attribute a lot of how I was treated to leading to the postpartum depression. The second child, I'm married and really excited about her, and my husband and I go in to see the doctor, and we're just waiting to hear her heartbeat, and we can't wait. And she asked, "Is he the father of your first child?" And I thought it was an odd question, but I, asked her why. Is this a health question? And she said, "Oh, it has something to do with genetics," and moved on. But I really know what stigma feels like, and so that didn't make me feel comfortable at all. So fast forward, we really wanted to have a natural birth. I'm encouraged to get this Foley bulb trial, which is a very invasive procedure that it turned out never would have worked for me. I never dilated, nothing. So there's no way this procedure would have worked. It's a very invasive, trying to force you to open up. And then I was told, well, you need to go in for a C-section. I'm stuck 14 times in my back for my spinal before the head anesthesiologist stepped in. And I'm crying hysterically. My husband can hear me 2 double doors behind. And it was just a horrible experience, and it caused a lot of trauma. And there was hours and hours that I had to recover before I could hold Jace. And my last story I'll share, I have 4 children. I skipped one. But this last one, we call him Final 4. He actually just turned 4. And this was the first child I actually was able to hold right after childbirth. I thought I would never be able to have that experience. But on this time, I ended up with the same anesthesiologist that allowed me to be stuck 14 times. And so when she showed up, my blood pressure elevated, and it took a while for them to be able to take me into the operating room because of the trauma. And it took her a few times to numb me, but not 14. I'm hysterical, I can't breathe. And I hear, she tells me in my ear, "I believe you have PTSD." And then she goes and tells my husband, "It's taken a long time. I think your wife has PTSD." And then we move on. I end up having the baby, but the PTSD ended up coming around, and I did feel that postpartum depression yet again. And so I share these stories with you because I'm one person with 3 different stories in the healthcare system, all employed. One was I was with a defense contractor. The second one, I was with a health insurance company. This third one, I was with PBGH. I'm debunking the myth that, I'm a poor, uneducated person that has done this to herself. These things happen every day, and these stories are there if you just ask. And so this has really, been my call this past year to addressing health equity, but there's so much opportunity to address all types of equity and to do our part. And when I asked employers, well, what's prompting you to do more now? And they say it's the right thing to do. They don't really know what to do, but they know they have to do something. And so I'm encouraging everyone to do something because lives truly depend on it. And people are willing to share their stories. People are willing to be a part of the solution if they're asked at the table. And so I just wanted to thank all of you for letting me share mine. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much, Jessica. You know, you're incredibly generous to share so much about your personal experiences. I just want to thank you for doing that. Really just incredibly and profoundly affecting hearing all that. As well, the asking the right questions of your membership, of your board at the organization where you are now, the Greater Pittsburgh Group on Health. I mean, this is incredibly important work that you're doing, and I'm really glad that you could share it both on the sort of the advocacy side and also on the personal side. It's really just stunning that these things do happen, and I'm happy that you, as you say, are here to debunk the myths that they don't really happen. I wanted to ask you a little bit about Health Desk, and it is Health Desk. It's kind of like Help Desk, but
Yes,
health,
exactly.
right?
Correct.
You know, and how incredibly rewarding for you to like swoop in and help somebody like it's like you get the hotline rings and Jessica swings into action. And I just wanted to know, like, how do people find you? Is it word of mouth? I mean, how do they find you? And and this is obviously your passion project. You have enough going on in your other worlds, but tell us a little more about how that works.
Sure, yes. So right now it's word of mouth. We're on social media. We have a website. And people have just been finding us. It's been very interesting and rewarding. And sometimes, one patient recently, she had no clue we were in Pittsburgh. It just was, divine intervention that she found us. She just was looking for help and sent this super long letter about her experience. And when she found out we were in Pittsburgh, it was like a whole nother level of gratefulness. And why that matters right now is because, this is where my relationships are. So it's easier. I can more quickly help get intervention for a patient in Pittsburgh than I can today. Someone reached out in Virginia, and it takes a little bit longer. But the goal is that we'll be able to help patients across the country over the next 12 months is our goal. And but yeah, so Facebook, Instagram, website, those are all ways that people can find us. And if you go on the website, ushealthdesk.org is our website.
Okay. And we know that you have the ears and the attention of a lot of really influential corporate leaders, as you mentioned, hospital executives. So even if it's a situation where something maybe has already happened, you can still share that story because,
Yes.
like you said, these people aren't hearing the stories that they need to hear.
Yes, you're right. And that was the biggest call out for me from doing my interviews, is that the stories are, where are they going? That there hasn't really been a home outside of your family members for those stories. And really, we haven't asked for them. And so, health plans aren't asking for them. Employers haven't asked for them. Hospitals haven't asked for them, really.
No.
So we're creating that platform for you to be able to share your story. And people have actually started submitting. We actually have on the website, tell us your story. And people are actually starting to share their experiences through the website, which is very empowering and motivating. for us to keep going and to do what we're doing. So.
Well, we've got quite a few questions. We might not get to all of them, but one really good question is, is this stigmatizing and these horrible outcomes in treatment? Do you think that it is it just racial prejudice, or are there some healthcare disparity issues, like actual medical issues that are leading to some of these medical problems?
Sure. The answer is yes, in both. Of course, there's healthcare disparities. If you look at, I'm using Black right now, but there's other disparities with other demographics. But more likely to have die from breast cancer, 2 times more likely to die Black women. More likely to die from heart attacks. Colon cancer. Lung, there's a lot of different issues. However, when you look at those in different, from a different lens, a lot of it is being denied certain treatments. So yes, you may have had some issues, like for example, diabetes, limb loss, having to have your limbs cut off versus an alternative treatment. There are actual studies that show that the treatments aren't being equivalent. So you're more likely to get your limb cut off when you could have had some kind of other therapeutic treatment first, right? So it's both. There's definitely major health disparities that exist. Some of it's environmental. My hometown of Clairton, someone in one of the networking sessions has their business in Clairton. We know U.S. Steel is there. We know for a long time, my grandparents worked there. It helps a lot of communities and families with economic stability, but it also has caused major environmental issues like asthma. And that is generational. Our kids, they're literally born with asthma, basically. And we have major disparities with that causes other issues. So yes, those disparities are very real. Social determinants of health are very real. However, we have to also be accountable for when we go get care and seek treatment. There is a major bias and racial disparities that exist. It is evidence-based that Black and Brown people typically feel ignored, dismissed. When you say you're in pain, your pain isn't treated accurately. You're not believed that you're in the pain levels that you're in. You get treated with different levels of pain medication, undertreated oftentimes. And these are evidence-based studies. So that is very real.
Wow. Well, I'm going to suggest to our attendees that they might want to ask questions, because there's quite a few questions coming in that we're not going to have time to dig into, but that they can reach out to you and ask these questions and address these, because I think they're important and they're definitely relevant to your work. The one last question I will leave us on is from one of our attendees, which is what can we do as individuals? Now, obviously, a lot of the women here tonight are executives and business owners and leaders in their fields. As individuals, what can they do?
I'm glad you asked. Well, one, in the healthcare space, as an individual, ask your doctor. It should not be okay if someone who's treating you is treating your fellow neighbor differently, right? Your other co-patient who's coming in behind you differently because of who they are. So I think we should all be seeking care from individuals who understand that these disparities exist. And I would ask questions. Are you aware, doctor, that these disparities exist with people of color? Are you doing anything about that? And align ourselves as individuals with our own care providers in that case, who are aligned with your values. Also, as leaders of businesses, advocate for, you provide healthcare benefits. If you're a smaller business, you may feel like you have less empowerment because you're fully insured, but you have every right to contact the hospitals or your health plan and say, what are you doing around health disparities? What are you doing around equity? What are you doing about the maternal mortality crisis, which 60% of those deaths are preventable? 60% are preventable. Ask those type of questions. On the other equity side, with hiring and inclusive cultures, as business leaders, we all have the ability to influence that. Align yourselves with the right vendors, the right partners, your hiring practices, your policies, and your procedures. I tell my members all the time, it's best to assume that the way you've been doing it is wrong than to act like you've been doing it right and it's been wrong. And just go in after it. Go and look through things with a critical lens. All of your practices, policies, and procedures, just look at it with a different lens now and identify the opportunities and then make a plan. You can't do everything overnight, but make a plan and be intentional.
Thank you so much. I'm glad you didn't become a cardiologist. I think you're doing more good doing what you're doing today, even as a cardiologist. So thank you so much for speaking with us tonight. And again, reach out to Jessica and ask those questions that we didn't have a chance to address this evening. At this time, we are going to move into our final breakouts. And again, the transitions will happen automatically. We will see you in a few minutes. Welcome back. I certainly hope you enjoyed tonight's event. I know I did. I'm really glad that you were all able to join us. One thing that was missing, though, was our event photographer. If you remember when we used to have these in person, we always had a lot of great photos to share after the event. So before we go, I'd like to ask everyone to pose for just a few quick digital pics, which we'll save and promote, and you can check them out online. Okay, so everybody ready? 1, 2, 3, smile. Let's do it one more time. 1, 2, 3, smile. Perfect. I think we got it. Now, remember, we will be sharing your contact information with all the attendees tonight. And if you don't want us to do that, just let us know via the chat or via email. But we really hope that you reach out, connect, do business. Like Wendy Clayton said, nothing like a lot of strong, smart women, helping each other and working together. Thank you for joining us tonight for Pittsburgh Magazine's virtual Women in Business. We hope you had a great time, met some new people, learned something, found inspiration. I know I did from Jessica, and hope to see you again soon, perhaps in person. Good night.